Hello everyone, welcome to our Law Excellence's unique initiative, Current Affairs for Beginners. Let's start our today's session. Before starting our today's session, let us see what are the answers for the questions from previous video. The first question is, consider the following statements. Asteroids are planet-like objects which always revolve around in a particular orbit. This statement is wrong because sometimes they orbit outside their path and reach other planets. The second statement is asteroid belt is present between Mars and Jupiter. This statement is correct. So the answer here is only 2. The second question is consider the following statements regarding universal basic income. Universal basic income is proposed to reduce poverty. Yes, this statement is correct. Universal basic income is implemented in 4 states as pilot project by Niti Aayog. This statement is wrong because it is not yet implemented in any part of India. So the correct answer is only 1. Now let's start our today's session. Our first article is the tools for counting. In this article, we can see there is a mention of census as well as socioeconomic and caste census. Now we'll see what is the difference between these two. What is the purpose of this census? Our Indian census is the single largest source that will provide us with a variety of statistical information based on different characteristics of people of India like age, gender, religion, migration, etc. Whereas the socio-economic and caste census will help the government to prepare the below poverty line list. That will help the government in identifying the beneficiaries for various welfare schemes. For example, the government will use this data in all the programs like MG and RAGA in order to identify the beneficiaries of Direct Benefit Transfer Scheme under JAM Trinity. And this data includes the households who are without shelter, destitutes, manual scavengers, primitive tribal groups. All these people will be given the highest priority to include in this below poverty line list. So who is responsible for conducting this census? For conducting this regular population census, it is the Office of Registrar General and the Census Commissioner under the Ministry of Home Affairs is responsible, whereas the Rural Development Ministry and Planning Commission is responsible for the socio-economic and caste census. This regular population census is conducted once in every 10 years. The last census was done in 2011. Whereas from the independence, the socio-economic and caste census was first time conducted in 2011 only. And the population census was carried under the Census of India Act 1948, whereas the socio-economic and caste census were not conducted under any act. There is no act. Our next article is India-Bangladesh navies to join hands. In this article, we can see there is a mention of a term called exclusive economic zone. Now we will see what it is. The exclusive economic zone gives a country the exclusive special rights to explore natural resources up to 200 nautical miles from the baseline in a territorial sea. And the area that is beyond this 200 nautical miles will not be included as exclusive economic zone. The reason to introduce this exclusive economic zone is to stop the clashes over the fishing rights and oil rights by various countries. As we have seen that this exclusive economic zone has given exclusive rights for a particular country to explore the natural resources in this zone, it doesn't mean that the foreign nations were not having any freedom to navigate here. In this zone, the foreign vessels were having freedom to navigate and overflight. And also, they can lay their submarine pipes and cables. Our next article is the Supreme Court notifies new roster for judges. In this article, we can find a term called habeas corpus. What is this habeas corpus? Habeas corpus literally means to have the body of. If a person is illegally or unlawfully detained, then anybody on behalf of the detainee can file a petition to the court. Then the court will issue this writ, the habeas corpus, to the responsible authorities. In this case, it can be public authorities or an individual to produce the body of the imprisoned before the court. This writ can be issued when the person is detained and not produced before the magistrate within 24 hours, or when the person is arrested without any violation to the law, or when the person is arrested under an unconstitutional law, or when the detention is done to harm the person. Under these 4 cases, this habeas corpus writ can be issued. The habeas corpus writ is called as the bulwark of individual liberty against arbitrary detention. Our next article is AIIB to invest $200 million in infra fund. In this article, now we are going to see what is this National Infrastructure and Investment Fund is. The Government of India has initially proposed to set up this National Investment and Infrastructure Fund in 2015 budget. Eventually, the government has set up this with 40,000 crore rupees to provide long-term capital for infrastructure projects like smart cities, dedicated freight corridors, high-speed railways that require long-term investment. The objective of this fund is to maximize the economic impact by developing the infrastructure in both greenfield as well as brownfield projects, which means for both greenfield in the sense new projects, whereas brownfield for existing and stalled projects. This fund was set up as Category 2 Alternate Investment Fund under the Securities and Exchange Board of India regulations. Out of the total corpus of 40,000 crore, the government will invest 20,000 crore into it from the budget, while the remaining 20,000 crore is expected to come from the private investors. The funds that were raised will be used to be invested in the companies, institutions, and other infrastructure projects. Our next article is War, Wine and Wonders, a race to UNESCO Heritage List. Now we are going to see what is this UNESCO Heritage List is about. UNESCO World Heritage List. First of all, what is this World Heritage? It is a designation that is given for the places on the earth that are considered to be of outstanding universal value to humanity. And those sites which are of such value will be identified and they will be added in the World Heritage List by UNESCO in order to protect and preserve the cultural and natural heritage. For doing so, UNESCO has adopted an international treaty called the Convention Concerning the Protection of World Cultural and Natural Heritage in 1972. India, which has been part of this from 1977, now has 36 sites, out of which 28 were cultural heritage sites, whereas 7 were natural sites and 1 is a mixed heritage site. The UNESCO Cultural World Heritage Sites are those sites that are having unique cultural facets like painting, monuments, architectures, etc. In India, some of the cultural heritage sites were Agra Fort, Ellora Caves, Elephanta Caves, Fatehpur Sikri, Great Living Chola Temples, monuments of Mahabalipuram, etc. Whereas the natural World Heritage Sites are those sites that are having distinctive geological formations, physical, biological and cultural landscapes. In India, some of the natural World Heritage Sites are Kaziranga National Park, Manas Wildlife Sanctuary, Western Ghats, Sundarbans, etc. And a mixed World Heritage Site comprises the components of both natural as well as cultural importance. In India, the only mixed World Heritage Site is in Sikkim, that is the Kanchenjunga National Park, which has both natural and cultural heritage value. This region has the religious and cultural practices of Buddhism as well as ecological significance. This region has unique diversity of lowlands, steep valleys, and it includes the world's third highest peak mountain Kanchenjunga, which has lots of endemic, rare and threatened plant and animal species. So we can say this region stands as an example for the traditional knowledge and environmental preservation. Now let's see what are the questions from today's video. Consider the following statements. Kanchenjunga National Park is the only World Heritage Site in the world that has both natural and cultural heritage value. Coexistence of traditional knowledge and environmental preservation is its uniqueness. Select the correct answer using the code below. The second question is, with reference to National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, which of the following statements are correct? It is an organ of Niti Aayog. It has a corpus of 4 lakh crore at present. Select the correct answer using the code below. Try to answer these questions and post them in the comment box, and the answers for these questions will be explained in detail in tomorrow's video. Thank you.